For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Hello, everybody. This is Jeremy Bradley at the controls on The Scribble. Welcome to episode 2 of our new 30-minute podcast series. Gotta say, a little bit different than radio, not too much. We don't have any music interrupting. This is just straight talking, which I'm not quite... Well, I talk a lot, I'm not going to lie. But, yeah, certainly a different format that I'm used to. Normally I talk for like 2 minutes, then we go into 15 minutes of music. This is... it's certainly exciting, though. Thanks to everybody who's given feedback. That last week when we had... Let me just recap in case I love a good recap. Survivor host, Jeff Probst. Amazing Race host, Phil Kogan. Lisa Gibbons, winner of Celebrity Apprentice, all within a 30-minute podcast for you, ladies and gentlemen, just so you know. TheScribbleshow.com is our website, and also you can follow along on Twitter at The Scribble Show. All right, so it's Friday night. Our podcasts are always out on Fridays, and Amazing Race is on CBS tonight. But so too is Shark Tank on ABC. Now, before Kevin O'Leary was thrashing Americans with their business ideas and their entrepreneurial ventures, he was appearing on Dragon's Den, a show in Canada. And I guess he just got too big for his britches, and he left that show, and then he was actually doing both shows for a time, but now he's on Shark Tank. So we're going to chat with Kevin O'Leary coming up. Is he a big a douche as he is on TV? We're going to find out. You're going to hear it all here. And then also the fairest Barbara Corcoran, one of the aggressive female sharks, will be joining us in just a little bit. So let's recap, though, this whole Scribble show, because, like I said, last week we were on speed and didn't get a chance to sort of break down what's going to be happening every 30 minutes on this show. So I am the author of the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being a Winnipeg Cheapskate. I'm from Winnipeg, and it's a city that's known for having really, we can call it thrifty. You can gussy it up with whatever word you want. Cheap is cheap, okay? So it's also now a video column in the Winnipeg Free Press. I'm a columnist there in the business section. And so we're going to be giving tips every once in a while of creative and fun things that you can do to save money. Now, I am by no means a financial expert. I don't want to give that impression. That's not what I claim to be. But just doing different little things around the house or throughout the year when you're traveling or for different holidays, you can actually save quite a bit of money. So we're going to be giving you some of those tips on the show as well. So lots of little fun tidbits and just maybe stupid discussion topics when we don't have celebrities lining up to talk to us. Not that I'm bragging, but we do. We've got some star power, and we're going to get to that in just a second. So that's what's happening on The Scribble every week on SoundCloud, iTunes, and at thescribbleshow.com, and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. All right, so I've already talked about the wonderful Barbara Corcoran. Let's get to her now. She's on the line.
Celeb spotting on The Scribble.
She is the prettiest one on the panel, Barbara Corcoran from ABC's Shark Tank, joining us on the line. Hi, Barbara.
I love that introduction. I love you already, Jeremy.
Well, let's talk about the show because, the country's obsessed. Let's tell everyone what the show is about. Entrepreneurs
the real scoop is?
Yeah, entrepreneurs, investors, business people, they come on and they pitch an idea to you, right?
Everybody comes on that show from the most ridiculous dream to the best dream in the world, and they stand in front of the panel of people who have the cash to invest, and they say, give me your money, basically, and they pitch us as best as they can. They either get beaten up and thrown off set virtually, or they walk away with a wad of cash and their dream comes true.
And it's just you beating them up. The guys just sit by and watch. You physically remove people.
Oh, my God. It's so painful to watch those guys go at these people sometimes. And maybe it's because I'm female. I don't think I'm a pushover. I think I'm just as tough as the guys. But when they just hammer away, particularly Kevin O, the bastard in the middle with no hair, remember that guy in the middle? He is merciless on these people. And that's why the show has a shrink that meets every single entrepreneur once they get out off the Shark Tank set. They sit down with the shrink just to make sure they don't go and kill themselves.
Oh, my. Well, let's talk about this, though, because you said every Tom, Dick, and Harry comes out there. So what can someone do to wow you right off the bat?
Well, you have to talk real English. What I've been finding the last season of Shark Tank, we get a lot of fancy kids that have a great education, and they're talking with all the Harvard MBA terms. And those are the people that never get the investments because you don't know what they're talking about. You don't trust them. But what people can do is, A, be genuine, and most importantly in my book, take the objections and the questions in the chin and keep coming back and fighting. Because what we're really all looking for on that show, what we're all looking for is someone that can make it to the finish line, someone that can come back at you, you know? And you see most of the entrepreneurs fall apart in the questioning phase of the show. And you really want to be able to answer the questions and act like you mean it.
Now, we've seen that a few times where you guys invest not necessarily in the business or the idea, but the actual person. So does that really make a big difference, the person?
Let me tell you, the person is 80% of it. What I'm always thinking when I'm hearing the pitch is, does the business, quote, make sense? If it makes sense, that's fine. The rest of it is where the critical eye comes in. How good is this entrepreneur? How strong are they? How good are they taking the pressure? Are they the kind of entrepreneur that is in love with their business and constantly talks about their passion for it, which is the majority of the entrepreneurs on there, the wannabes anyway. And then you're wondering if they're going to have the passion once they're married 5 years to the business and hating going to work every day because everything's been going wrong lately. That's really what you're looking for. You're looking for someone with stamina who could go the course, or certainly that's what I'm busy thinking of as I'm trying to figure out where to put my money.
What's a common mistake that people make? And maybe it's the lingo and the terminology you already mentioned, but what's the mistake that people make that has you shut down right away and say, I'm out?
The number one thing is when they say they're passionate, they really believe in it. It's always a red flag, all right, because usually not a lot follows that. Usually they're not so good at presenting when they start off by talking about how their heart felt about it. Because a lot of people are naive, and they really think if they believe enough, it comes true. But that's true in the movie business, I guess, or in the storybook business, but it's not true in real life. The believing in it is only a starting point. So when people yawn on and on about their belief and their passion for it, I'm like right away checking out in my head.
Some people come out there, though, and they tell you they've spent their life savings or borrowed from everybody, and a lot of times you all look shocked and disappointed. So when should somebody throw in the towel, though? I mean, we hear that entrepreneurs should never give up, never take no. I mean, what would you suggest?
They should throw in the towel, frankly, long before most entrepreneurs do, when they're mortgaging their house and spending the money that's supposed to be for the college kids' education. You see that on Shark Tank all the time. They're like desperate. And you know what I think that amounts to? It amounts to nothing more than lack of courage to call it quits. I mean, sometimes it really takes more courage to call it quits than to stay with something long after it has been unsuccessful and drained you and your family of all of its money and your friends, all right? It's amazing to me how many people come on that show and have borrowed money from family and friends and are continuing to borrow more to see their personal dream come true. I think it's preposterous, as though there's no cause for concern that you're losing your friends and your family's money. It's just amazing. Those are usually the businesses that have red flags all over them. It's simply someone who can't call it quits because they don't have the courage to say, I failed. And you want to know, lots of the most successful entrepreneurs, in fact, every single one of the entrepreneurs who are judging on the show, all of the sharks themselves, have failed at other businesses. It's not about winning every time. It's about coming back, and you don't have to just stay with the ship as it's going down if you happen to get on the wrong boat.
So there's not necessarily like a time frame that, okay, I've been trying this for 10 years and nothing's worked. It's about the money, how much money you've sunk into it.
No, and you want to know what is amazing to me? Most people have a business idea. They typically go and pitch it to their family and friends who love them, and they say it's a great idea. And then they take their money on the idea, too. I think the smartest thing you could do is go and pitch your idea against your mother-in-law who can't stand, never liked you anyway, even when you married her daughter, you know, that kind of thing, and just see what she thinks. You need to go to someone who's going to honestly tell you what they think. And the one question that so few entrepreneurs even bother to ask is there a need for this product? I mean, it sounds pretty basic, but is there a need for the product? And I would say that 3 out of 4 products we hear about, there's no need for that product. So if there's no need for it, you really better have some other thing that is making it really special. And very often there's nothing there.
Now, I have to ask, though, I mean, sometimes there's a bidding war between the sharks, and you guys are one-upping each other with offers and competing for the deal. Have you ever thought about it after and realized, you know, I didn't even really want that one after all?
Definitely, and that's called competitive nature. And, of course, none of the sharks are in the seats they are in because they're not competitive. Everybody there is competitive. And it doesn't affect me much. I have the privilege of being the female on the set when bidding is going on. And So I'm not upping my ante to compete with the guys. But let me tell you, it's great for the entrepreneurs to sit back and watch those numbers go up to the sky. And sometimes they have it simply because the guys don't want to lose to the next guy. So it's crazy, but I have the advantage of not having another female on the set right with me. If I did, maybe I'd feel that competitive, but I don't think so, because women are different and they do business differently than men, and that kind of competitiveness, I'll show you, tends not to be as prevalent among women who have built successful businesses. They tend to join hands with other women and build together when they can. They're more, it's a different dynamic. I don't know how I'm explaining it well, but it's definitely different with the guys.
So about that, which shark has the biggest ego?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask which shark has the biggest whatever. Are you talking about sheer ego? I would say it would have to be most easily challenged ego.
Yeah.
I would have to say Kevin O'Leary in the middle, and that's why he's so filled with all this attackness in him. He attacks everybody because I think honestly, I have to interview his mother. I don't think he was loved as a kid, and that's why he's bashing at everybody else on the show. I can't really explain it, but his ego is the most shallow, but comes across as the biggest on the show.
Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll get her on the line and we'll both chat with her, okay?
Oh,
we'll do that.
wouldn't you love to interview the moms of the sharks and really find out if they were even popular on the playground?
Well, let's see that. Now, okay, which shark then would you call if you were in a jam and needed help on the other side of the world? Who would come to your to rescue you?
Oh, easily. Damon John. 150% sincere. What he says he means. He came out of the ghetto. He started, his first business was stealing bikes and selling the parts in the ghettos of the South Bronx. He did three-car Mountie, is that the name of that game? If you ever go to Times Square in New York, the guys that take your money because they switch three cards around, have you guess which one has the penny under it? He did that for a living. His mother, who was a cab driver her whole life, negotiated his multi-million-dollar deal for FUBU when he sold to a big portion of the company to investors here in New York. When he was a kid, he was like 24, and his mother's negotiating the deal for him, a cab driver. Come on. He's seen it all. He's done it all. You need help, you call him. If he's not available, he'll send a gang from the South Bronx to make sure you're helped. He's a definite.
Love chatting with you, Barbara. Shark Tank is on Friday nights. ABC, check your local listings. Barbara Corcoran, thanks so much for joining us today.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
Are you tired of commuting to a job that makes someone else rich, working harder than ever, but getting nowhere? Do you hate spending hundreds of dollars every week on daycare, having someone else raise your children? With our opportunities, you can start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss, work from home, and live a happier life. At Be the Boss Network, you'll find hundreds of work-from-home opportunities that you can literally start today and be earning money as soon as next week. Go to freedom41.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss. Get out of the rat race. Work from home. Go to freedom41.com right now and change your life today. That's freedom, the number 41.com. Go to freedom41.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You be the boss. Go to freedom41.com.
Jeremy Bradley here, back at the controls on The Scribble, episode 2 of our new podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, thescribbleshow.com for all of the fun that you're having here. We've got our links to Facebook and Twitter and things like that on there. So that's at thescribbleshow.com. And again, thanks for tuning in on iTunes and SoundCloud as well. Now, at the top of this episode, I mentioned that I'm a best-selling author. It doesn't say that on my business cards, but we're getting them reprinted. The book is called The Official Guide to Being a Winnipeg Cheapskate. Now, Winnipeg is known for being a very thrifty city, especially if you're in Canada. You might be familiar with that reputation, but the city has embraced it so much so that the book keeps selling out across town. And also, it's a regular video column in the Winnipeg Free Press. So what we're doing here on the podcast is giving you some tips from the book so that you don't have to buy it? No, that's not really why. We want you to buy it. We're going to tease you with some fascinating information that will help you go out and buy the book and use some of the tips.
Cheapskate Checkpoint on the Scribble. Brought to you by cheapskatebook.com. If you're a stupid spender, become a genius saver at cheapskatebook.com. Here's best-selling tight-ass Jeremy Bradley.
You freak.
Well, depending where you are in the world, you might be planning your summer vacation, and there's a lot of things to consider when booking a hotel. The first few trips I took, I needed to have the fanciest hotel suite with all the amenities. I mean, we're talking a few $100s per night, great view, maybe a hot tub in the room. But then I started to wonder why I needed such fancy digs when I was barely at the hotel anyway. For example, I went to New York City earlier this year, and first thing I thought was staying in Times Square. You're guaranteed to be paying a couple $100s per night, right? Simply because of the location. Is it worth it? Not necessarily, especially if you plan on being a typical tourist and walking around, taking in a show and dining out. You might get up first thing in the morning and not return until late night. So that bed better be giving you a damn good massage, and the shower better be spraying you with Dom Perignon. If you're paying $300 per night to get some sleep, the whole thing better be worth it. And to use 5 minutes of water, let's be honest. So most people make their hotel choice based on one thing: location, location, location. In New York City, most things in the heart of Manhattan are either a quick cab ride away or walking distance. And the constant noise of Times Square might actually be a smart thing to avoid. So once you've zeroed in on a hotel that meets your pricing needs, that doesn't charge you an arm and a leg for internet access, because a lot of them are doing that these days. You can start to wheel and deal with your room rate. Much like airline seats, the exact same room can have multiple prices, and you wouldn't even know unless you call up the hotel and try to sweet talk the staff. I generally make a call in the middle of the night. The front desk is minimally staffed. It might even be the manager answering the phone, you never know. And if you talk to them as a helpless tourist, build some rapport, you can find that they're willing to hook you up with better rates. Do your research, though, with your travel dates. If there's a major event or two happening in town, room vacancy might be sparse, and it is unlikely that you'll get a deal. Although if you're a good sweet talker, you can probably always get a deal. And if a hotel is seemingly full, be persistent, because there's always at least a room or two available. Now think about it. What happens if one of their usual business clients needs a room at the last minute? Or what if a toilet or shower breaks and that room cannot be used? They've got to move you somewhere. They're not going to kick you out of the hotel, right? So plan your approach wisely when they say about vacancy. If you go in for the kill right away and demand a room, you probably won't get one. Going for sympathy using the helpless tourist thing can actually work in your favor. I have found this to be true over and over again. Now, another tactic that I like to use, and it might take a bit of practice for you to master this one, is to make it seem like you plan on booking a whole block of rooms, because then it's all about in your tone and wording. So hey, can you tell me if you happen to have a lot of rooms available Thursday night? Or you could do, I'm wondering if you have quite a bit of vacancy on Thursday. See, just simply in the wording, they might think that you need a whole bunch of rooms. This is when they will tell you if they have plenty of space or if they're almost full. If they say we've got plenty of rooms available, that's when you go in for the kill, because they've pretty much told you that the hotel is almost empty. And this is where your negotiation skills come into play. Would they rather have that room sit empty, or would they take $50 or $75 for the night? Finally, you can also find great hotel deals online. Like I mentioned, it's all about using your research skills. Most of the travel websites offer a lowest price guarantee. That means they'll match or beat the competitor's price. Most of the time they match it, though. What I found is that sometimes these sites offer you something cheaper than the actual hotel does. So yes, they are offering you the hotel's room for cheaper than the hotel is. But when you call the hotel and mention that someone else has a cheaper price, you'll notice that the hotel staff might try to accommodate you instead of you booking somewhere else on a travel website, for instance. After all, the hotel isn't having to cut the price to anyone if you book directly through its staff, right? They're giving a cut of the share or whatever it is if you're booking through a third-party website. So it might take a bit of time and creativity and some persuasion skills, but there are plenty of ways to save money, because you're going to need all that money for souvenirs, right? All this useless crap that you're going to buy while you're away that you don't need, you need the money for that. All right, so again, this Cheapskate Checkpoint is brought to you by cheapskatebook.com. You can get the official guide to being an American cheapskate, the official guide to being a Winnipeg cheapskate, and you can go on Kindle for the official guide to being a Canadian cheapskate.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
Hey, I know that guy. That's me. Yes, syndicated newspaper columnist Jeremy Bradley here on the Scribble. Is there anything that I don't do? Yeah, I guess I don't shut up, really. Host of the syndicated radio shows Top of the Charts, The Open Road, Entertainment Wrap-Up, author of the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being a Winnipeg Cheapskate, and my newest book, which is called Put Down Your Damn Phone Already, at putdownyourdamnphone.com. We jam-packed the show, though. I don't have time to talk about that. But I do have time to name drop, and we're going to go back to the celebrity phone because we're talking about Shark Tank today in the business world, and it's all about money, right? Kevin O'Leary doesn't want your tears. He wants his money.
Celeb spotting on the Scribble.
Kevin O'Leary, or Mr. Wonderful, and fellow Canadian, actually, I should point out. Kevin O'Leary from ABC's Shark Tank joining us on the line. Hi, Kevin.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I am Mr. Wonderful today.
Oh, good. Well, you're that every day, so it's not much of a stretch, I guess, today. Now, it seems like this season on Shark Tank, you guys are out for blood, and I'm talking about with each other. Like, I'm thinking the competition has picked up between the sharks. Has it or no?
Oh, definitely. You know, Mark Cuban brings $2 billion cash to the table. The show is on fire as far as I'm concerned. You got to think about us as, what I find so interesting about it and why I enjoy it. You know, I do a lot of work in venture capital. There's a lot of venture capital firms, and there's nothing like the Shark Tank because every single one of those investors has actually been there and done it and has been successful. So I don't care what deal you bring in. Is it real estate? Is it internet? Is it security? Is it education? Is it, clothing? We've got it nailed. We've got a guy that's been in that market, knows it inside out. We're the venture capital firm on steroids. That's why it's so good.
So when someone comes to present to you, when can you tell they will be a good fit? Is it the way they walk in the room? Is it their poise? Is it the way they speak? I mean, you've been doing this a long time now, so what jumps out at you?
I get it in the first 90 seconds. It's a visceral feeling. I've seen so many pitches. Every single one that's successful over the years, and I tell you, they've got 3 attributes every time. They can get their idea out in 90 seconds, and it's crystal clear what the opportunity is. So the elevator pitch is really important. The ability to communicate, very important. Secondly, they convince you, and this takes a few more minutes, that they're the right person to execute the business plan so you can make money. That's the key. When you put those 2 things together, that individual, that's a leader emerging. That's an individual who's got an aura, like a patina, and they're sizzling like an isotope. I want to write a check.
There's some people, though, that come in with one product, and they get a hard time because that's apparently not a business. So what is the difference, then, with that?
There's a difference between a product and a business. I like to invest in businesses that have much less risk because there's a series of products and there's diversification on revenue streams. Barbara, she'll invest in a company that makes cakes. To me, that's not investment, that's a speculation. Somebody making pies, it makes no sense to me. We all have different styles, but I want businesses, and I much prefer them, and I'm willing to pay a lot more for one that actually has some cash flow. You show me a guy with sales that's making some money, I'm all over it.
Is there a type of business that you have not seen come through the doors that you're just waiting for?
There's always tomorrow. I always say this. There's 1,000 deals in the naked city. I never cry when I don't get a deal because I know there's 100 more coming tomorrow morning. I'm always surprised. Now, we've seen everything. I don't care if it's a hot sauce or a contraption that's a turkey baster or a real business that cleans trucks or whatever. We've seen it on the Shark Tank. But every day there's something new. That's what keeps it so interesting. It's never the same.
Is it more the product, or is it more the idea or the person that you look to?
I like them both. I like ideas that are in markets that are growing because that, to me, is easier to become an entrant and get market share. I don't have to steal it from somebody else. I can create my own. But the people matter, too. But remember, I'm not in there trying to make friends. I'm trying to make money. So I'm not there, telling them how great they are and how wonderful they are. That's all crap. I want to find out if we partner, can I help that person become rich and make myself richer at the same time?
And if they shed tears, we're just going to hear kumbaya from you, right?
Oh, that's just, money and tears don't mix, my friend. You know that.
Yeah.
If you can't handle it, if you can't take the heat, don't come in the kitchen. Just start crying. I want to invoice you for my time. You've wasted it.
Now, do you actually respect a person more when they stand up to you and kind of put you in your place, or if they try to put you in your place, or no?
I think they should. I'm just speaking the truth. I speak the truth. I never have to remember what I said. Unlike the other sharks who are always trying to make people feel better about their mistakes, I don't bother with that. I'm not interested. Money has no emotion. It's black and white. Either you make money or you lose money. So I'm trying to point out to people, look, this is a business. You know how to run a business and make money. If you find me offensive, then don't partner with me. But my track record's really good because I keep you focused on making money. That's why you're here. If you want friends, buy a dog.
So, yeah, now you have made several investments, lots of great success. Is there one that has really surprised you and done really well? And then on the flip side of that, one that maybe failed or didn't do as well as you hoped?
Well, let me give you the numbers because the statistics are really interesting about venture investing. And this goes for everybody in Shark Tank. Between the years of 1992 and 2000, which was the heyday of the tech bubble, the internet bubble, 1 in 10 deals returned their money and made money for the shareholders. So 1 in 10. Since 2002 to today, it's 1 in 25 make money. And on the tank, 1 in 17. And the reason I think we get better than the national average is, think about Shark Tank as the American Idol of venture capital. We've got instant advertising. Millions of people see the idea, and they know about the product instantly. Those are the kind of millions of dollars that company has to spend to get advertising they're getting for free on Shark Tank. So the platform is interesting. So for me, out of all the deals I've done, only 2 have made money, and I've done over 20. So I'm sort of batting in that 1 in 17 average, but luckily I've made all my money back on the other 15 that blew up. So at the end of the day, and you'll be amazed, I got to tell you this, even though I think I know what I'm doing, and I'm sure that when I make an investment it's going to work, it only happens 1 in 17 times, and they fall apart for a wide range of reasons.
And I guess we see that all the time where, as you mentioned, you don't even have to get a deal on the show, and just the exposure alone can make your product or business skyrocket, right?
Yeah, sometimes the guy comes on the show or the woman pitches the deal. They're so hot the next week, they up the price on us. That happens too. It's an ongoing negotiation.
Now, something we see, though, on the Canadian show anyway, Dragon's Den, we don't see it on Shark Tank, is that the crazies that come in with the really terrible ideas, I mean, that gives them a spotlight as well. So, I mean, their dumb product could even do really well after an appearance on a show like this.
It's true. There was a woman that came on up there and said, look, I'm going to sing to a 5-gallon bottle of water and separate it into 3 separate elixirs through my voice. 1 will cure jealousy, 2 will make you wealthy, and 3 will keep you healthy. And I'm selling them for $20 an ounce after I sing to it. And I said, you are insane. Her sales are $20,000 a month right now.
What is the maximum you would invest in a company? Some people, have a limit. Do you have one? Or if it's just a great business idea, you'll go for it?
No, I don't have a limit. I've got lots of resources. I'm ready to go to work. But if I'm going to put in more than $1 million, it's not going to be on a speculative idea. I want to pay a multiple of cash flow. So I don't mind spending $250,000 on an idea, because if that goes away, okay, I take the hit. But $1 million plus, you got to show me you're running a business.
I've got to ask then, what is the most you've invested in a company?
The most, in all the, let's see now, 3 different years, the number 1 investment so far, $1.4 million.
Wow, and is that one of them that's returning your money now, or not quite yet?
No, it's in the living dead category. It's still alive. It requires more capital. And, I'll be lucky to get my money back on that one. That's what happens in venture capital. You win some, you lose some. That one I hope returns capital, but I may have to wait another 3 years. This is what I mean, Now you're getting me upset. I'm thinking about that $1.4 million capture in that company. I'm unhappy.
Well, then it's a good thing we're out of time, isn't it, Kevin? Remember to check your local listings Friday night, though, for Shark Tank on ABC, right, Kevin?
Yes, it is, and I love that show. And we'll also be tweeting. This year we're doing something unique. Cuban and I and Damon, Barbara, Robert, we all watch the show together live. And we've got our tweets going, and the whole nation, and we're talking to them. I mean, it's the coolest thing. You've got millions of people watching the show, hundreds of thousands tweeting, and we're talking about the deals as they hit. I'm having more fun than ever. I'm Kevin O'Leary TV, so if you want to talk to me, join me. Let's have some fun on Friday night.
You are Mr. TV. I think you've got more shows than anybody else I know, I think.
I don't know, I just got hooked on it. It came from those days in Hockey Night when I was on the other side of the camera. I love television. I have a lot of fun with it. And by the way, it makes me a much better investor. I remember when ABC called me and said, come on down and come to the set of Dancing with the Stars. I said, you must be nuts. I can't dance. And that was the time I met Steve Wozniak, because he's a big Dancing with the Stars fan. And we got together after the show, and I learned all about his business of investing in Asia. So, for me, it made me a much better investor.
That's what makes you Mr. Wonderful. Kevin O'Leary, we've got to get rolling. But Friday nights, ABC Shark Tank, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
In our final remaining 30 seconds, I just want to thank everybody who has tuned in at thescribbleshow.com, on SoundCloud, iTunes. My thanks to Barbara Corcoran and Kevin O'Leary for joining us on our second episode of the Scribble podcast. My name is Jeremy Bradley. Feel free to be in touch on Twitter at The Scribble Show and on Facebook. The links are all on our website. Again, that is thescribbleshow.com. I will talk to you same time, same place next week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.